This is the AstrHori 50mm f1.4 full frame tilt shift lens. I've quite extensively tested this lens because tilt shift photography is quite new to me and I wanted to do the review justice, and also it's just been really good fun to use. First I took the lens to the city and there's loads of subjects to play with here. It was my first day using it and I think I got some really good photos straight out of the gate. It was fun to think in terms of perspective rather than just composition. Which elements did I want to make small? Which elements did I want to emphasize? Which parts of the frame did I want to obscure? I also played around with some interior shots and I love the dreamy look of these images. Now this isn't an effect you should use all the time, obviously. It really has to earn its place and make sense for the story that you're telling at the time. But I think you could get some really unique shots in paid work and also for fun. So the dual joy of this lens is when the lens is straight on, it becomes a very good, very shallow depth of field, nifty-50. In theory, you should be able to lock it down when it's straight and then use it as a standard lens and then loosen it up, and then you can move it around and have all the tilt shift features. In my experience though, the tightening ring on my copy, at least, I don't know if it's the same for the rest, only goes so far as to stiffen the lens rather than to actually lock it down. So when you do want to use it in standard mode, you are left looking down and double checking that it's straight, and it is so easy just to get it slightly off in one direction or the other. But if you are using this lens mainly as a 50mm standard lens, you're probably buying it for the wrong reasons. So think of it as tilt shift first and nifty-50 as a bonus. So day one in Liverpool went really well. I had loads of fun using it. Day two went less well. Having gained some confidence in Liverpool, I set out with my lens wide open and I was bending it left and right and up and down and all over the place. That's what you buy it for, right? For all those exaggerated moments. Well, not so much. When the depth of field is so shallow and things are so blurred, it's very easy to lose context altogether of the composition you were going for. What is really fun to experiment with is the more that you tilt it to the left or the right, the more extreme that effect becomes. So sometimes I found myself sort of shooting straight on and then moving it slightly to the left, slightly to the left, slightly to the left, and then I have an option in editing of it being straight to being very shallow depth of field and very toy towny. I've really enjoyed using this lens and I'm very excited to see what all this footage I've shot today looks like. Narrator: she was not happy with the results. After reviewing the footage around the lake yesterday, I've come to some conclusions. So I'm out again with the bendy lens, that's what I'm calling it, I'm sticking with it. What I've discovered is you have to be very careful with how much you use this effect, because it can be so abstract if you overdo it with bending the tilt shift or keeping your aperture wide open that it becomes almost nauseatingly abstract. Nauseatingly abstract, that's a lovely sentence. Today I have a new approach. I'm going to just limit how much I move the lens, and if I need to stop down a little bit, I will. One thing yesterday, because the sun was actually quite bright, it was hard to see just exactly how much, or indeed how little, was in focus. So I think with this lens, there's a little bit of a learning curve and you do have to make sure you monitor your focus peaking very closely to make sure you've got the effect that you want. So less is more today. Less is more. Let's do it. On day three, I was really happy with the photos that I managed to get. I think it can be my instinct, and I don't know if you're the same, but if I have a fast lens, I just want to shoot it wide open all the time because that's the feature that I think you paid for, so I want to use it as much as possible, even if it's probably not the right thing to do. So I took my time on day three, I stopped down where necessary to make sure my subject was in focus, and I tilted less and gave myself plenty of options in editing. So who is this lens for? I think if you are using your photography or videography in paid situations, it's certainly a very unique look. Should be used sparingly, obviously, but anything that's a little bit different from what we see every day can always set you apart from the rest. Those shots really look so nice because the intimacy of the venue was mirrored in the intimacy of the shots, and you know, it's that sort of soft, character-driven kind of place. It worked perfectly for those kinds of places. However, you wouldn't necessarily want to do it for somewhere where we wanted to show off the vastness of the space. You know, it has to be used in keeping with the story of the job that you have. I think it'd be blooming brilliant for couple moments in wedding videography, you know, where you're just trying to to isolate the two of them and they're having a laugh or walking hand in hand, and it gives you that effect of like the whole world is gone but them. Again, the intimacy of the way these shots turn out, it's a word I come back to with this lens over and over. I think it would be great for wedding videography as well, sparingly. Like, don't shoot the whole film on this, but like the odd scene I think would be great. And this lens really did surprise me how much I enjoyed it for video. I think it's a very unique effect. It can sometimes be a little bit tricky when you're tracking subjects because the shallow depth of field and the focus is so narrow sometimes that it can be a little bit hit and miss, so you do need to practice and follow your focus peaking. But I really enjoyed using it. I think the effects can be very nice. You can use them very exaggerated and use that sort of Toy Town effect, or you can just have just a little bit of skew in the image to just have a dreamy effect. I very much enjoyed it for video, and I do think because it's so small and portable, I can just chuck it in my bag, and if the situation arises where I think, oh, this lens would be great for this, I can have it with me. I also think, paid work aside, this lens is for someone who wants to connect with their photography and creativity again. If you just want to have a lens to go out and just have fun with, this is definitely that. I had a blast. I ended up taking it out loads more than I planned. It just puts a smile on your face. You know, you're getting an effect in camera that you just can't get with other styles of lenses. And I think having the 50mm straight on means it's not just wasted bag space, because if you need a standard 50mm prime, it will fit that bill as well, though you do have to be careful to keep it lined up properly. What's not to love? I'll tell you what's not to love. The name. Have you ever tried Googling AstrHori? Google just always seems to think I want an astrophotography lens, and it does my head in. But if the only thing I can complain about is the name of the brand, then I think it's a damn good product, really. And it's definitely not the worst name I've come across in my time. I have quite the history of reviewing quirky and fun, bizarre lenses, so if you enjoyed this video, check out this one next.